The colony ship Endless Dawn had been traveling through space for 3 years when the attack came. 200 humans were sleeping in their pods, dreaming of the new world they would call home. They never reached it. The warship appeared from nowhere. Its weapons tore through the endless dawn like paper. Within minutes, the human ship was dead in space, and soldiers were boarding through the broken hull. Woke up to screaming. Red emergency lights flashed everywhere. She was a physical therapist from 26 years old, and she had joined this mission because she wanted adventure. Now she was being dragged from her sleeping pod by a creature that stood 7 feet tall and had 4 arms. The soldiers sorted the humans like animals. The strong ones went to one shuttle. The weak ones went to another. Was small, only 162 centimeters tall, and she weighed 58 kilograms. The soldiers looked at her and laughed. They threw her into the shuttle with the weak ones. She landed next to a young man who was shaking so hard his teeth were clicking together. His name was, and he was 19 years old, an engineering student who had dreamed of building cities on new planets. Now tears ran down his face as he stared at the alien soldiers. "Where are they taking us?" he whispered. An older man answered. His name was, and he had been the security chief of the Endless Dawn. His face was calm, but his eyes were dark with anger. "Entertainment," he said. "I heard them talking. They're taking us to fighting pits." A woman next to him made a small sound of fear. She was Doctor, the ship's physician. She was 62 years old, with silver hair and gentle hands that had healed hundreds of people. Those hands were shaking now. The shuttle flew for hours. Through the small windows could see a massive planet growing larger. It was gray and ugly, covered in metal structures that spread across its surface like a disease. This was Prime, the heart of the Galactic Coalition's entertainment industry. The arena of Prime was famous across 1,000 worlds. Here, conquered species learned their place. Here, the strong reminded the weak why they ruled. And here, humans would learn that they were nothing. The shuttle landed inside a massive building. The humans were pushed out into a long hallway that smelled like blood and fear. Alien guards marched them forward, past cells filled with creatures had never imagined. Some were huge and covered in armor. Some were made of crystal that hummed with strange energy. Some had too many eyes, too many legs, too many teeth. All of them watched the humans pass. All of them laughed. "Species 7431, a mechanical voice announced as they walked. "Classification, fragile, threat level, negligible, average 80 years, special abilities, none detected. Notes, weak skeletal structure, thin skin, no natural weapons, suitable for entry-level entertainment only." Listened to these words and felt something cold settle in her stomach, but she also felt something else. Something hot and angry that she pushed down deep inside her. They were thrown into a large cell. 12 humans in a space meant for 6. The walls were cold metal. The floor was stained with old blood. A single light burned above them, too bright and too harsh. Officer immediately began checking everyone for injuries. Doctor helped him, her medical training taking over even though her hands still shook. Sat in the corner, hugging his knees to his chest. Others cried quietly or stared at nothing. Walked to the bars at the front of their cell. Through them, she could see into the cell across the hallway. And there, watching her with 4 yellow eyes, was the largest creature she had ever seen. He was a but bigger than the soldiers who had captured them. His skin was dark gray, thick as leather and covered in scars. 4 massive arms hung at his sides, each one ending in hands that could crush a human skull like an egg. When he smiled, his teeth were sharp and yellow. "Fresh meat," he said. His voice was deep like stones grinding together. "Human meat, my favorite." Did not step back, she did not look away. "Who are you?" The creature laughed. It was an ugly sound. "I am the Unbroken. I have won 847 fights in this arena. I have killed warriors from 60 different species. I have never been defeated." He pressed his face closer to the bars of his own cell. And you, little human, are nothing. Your species is nothing. You have no claws, no armor, no venom, no strength. The weakest child could kill your strongest warrior with one hand." Behind began to cry harder. Doctor put her arm around him. "You exist," continued, "only because we find your suffering amusing. Your pain is entertainment. Your deaths are jokes. That is all humanity will ever be in this galaxy, a joke." Officer stepped up beside, his fists were clenched. "Then why are you talking to us? If we're so worthless, why waste your breath?" His eyes narrowed. For a moment, anger flashed across his face. Then he laughed again. "Because I want you to understand. When they put you in the arena, when you face me or creatures like me, I want you to know that there is no hope. I want you to feel despair in your final moments. That makes the killing." He turned away and walked to the back of his cell, still laughing. The humans were silent. Crying had stopped. Everyone stared at the floor or the walls or their own hands. Despair hung in the air like a fog. But was thinking. She was a physical therapist. Her job had been to understand bodies, to find weaknesses and fix them, to help broken people become strong again. She had studied human anatomy for years. She knew every muscle, every bone, every nerve. And now she was studying. She had watched him move. She had seen how his weight shifted when he walked. She had noticed that his lower back was not as armored as his chest. She had seen that his lower right arm moved slightly slower than the others. "He's not unbeatable," she said quietly. Looked at her. "What?" He has weaknesses. I can see them." Doctor shook her head. "Child, even if he has weaknesses, we cannot fight him. We are human. We break easily. We die easily." Turned to look at them. All of them. 12 humans, lost and afraid, trapped in a universe that thought they were worthless. "Yes," she said, "we break easily, but we also heal, we adapt, we learn." She looked back at Cell. "On Earth, we survived ice ages. We survived plagues. We survived predators bigger and faster than us. We survived each other." Her voice grew stronger. "We are still here. After 100,000 years of everything trying to kill us, we are still here." Looked up at her. His eyes were red, but something in them had changed. "What are you saying?" Smiled. It was a small smile, tired and scared, but real. "I'm saying that they made a mistake. They look at us and see weak creatures, small bodies, soft skin, no weapons." She sat down on the cold floor and closed her eyes. "They have no idea what humans really are." In the cell across the hallway, the Unbroken settled down to sleep. He was not worried about the humans. Why would he be? They were the weakest species in the galaxy. He would learn, they all would. Humanity had arrived at the arena of Prime, and nothing would ever be the same. 3 days passed in the cell. The humans were given food twice a day. It was gray and tasteless, but it kept them alive. They slept on the hard floor. They talked in whispers. They waited. Did not waste this time. She watched everything, every guard that passed, every creature in the nearby cells, every fight she could hear happening somewhere in the distance. The arena was huge and fights happened all day and all night. She listened to the crowds cheering. She listened to the screams of the dying. And she learned. The guards talked freely in front of the humans. Why would they hide anything? Humans were too stupid and weak to be a threat. So heard about the different species in the arena. They were strong but slow when tired. The Skarn were fast, but their joints could not bend sideways. They were made of crystal and could be shattered by the right frequency of sound. She stored all of this information in her mind. She did not know when she would need it, but she knew she would. On the morning of the 4th day, the guards came. "Time for a show," one of them said. He was a Skarn covered in black scales that shone like glass. His yellow eyes looked at the humans with hunger. "The crowd is bored. They want to see a human die." The humans pressed back against the wall, was shaking again. Doctor stood in front of him, her old body trying to protect his young one. The guard pointed at, "That one, the crying one, he will be funny." No, officer stepped forward. His voice was calm and hard. Take me instead. The guard tilted his head. You want to die in his place. I want to fight. Is that not what you want, a fight? Jaw was tight. The boy will die in seconds. Where is the entertainment in that? I was a soldier. I will give your crowd a better show. The guards looked at each other. Then they laughed. Fine, said the Scarn. You will die slower. That is even better. They grabbed and dragged him away. The last thing saw was his face looking back at them. He was not afraid. He was ready. The humans were taken to a viewing area. They were forced to watch. This was part of the entertainment, making the weak watch their people die. The arena floor was huge and round, covered in sand that was stained dark in many places. Thousands of aliens filled the seats around it. They cheered and screamed and waved their arms and tentacles and claws. The noise was deafening. Walked onto the sand. He was still wearing his torn uniform from the endless dawn. He had no weapons, no armor, nothing. His opponent was a Scarn warrior, 7 feet tall, black scales covering every inch of his body, a tail that ended in a blade of bone, claws on his hands and feet, yellow eyes that showed no mercy. Begin, the arena master shouted. The Scarn attacked immediately. He was fast, so fast they could barely follow his movements. His claws slashed its chest. But was not there. He had moved at the last moment. Not fast, not graceful, but enough. The claws missed by inches, rolled across the sand and came up behind the Scarn. The crowd murmured. This was unexpected. The Scarn turned and attacked again. This time his tail swept low, aiming for his legs, jumped. The tail passed under him. He landed and immediately moved again, circling, never staying still. He's not trying to win, whispered. He's trying to survive. And he did survive, for 1 minute, then 2, then 3. The Scarn was getting frustrated. His attacks were getting wilder. Used this. He waited for an opening, then lunged forward and drove his fingers into the Scarn's left eye. The creature screamed. Green blood sprayed across the sand. The crowd went silent. Did not stop. He grabbed the Scarn's arm and twisted, using a joint lock that recognized from her training. The Scarn's elbow bent the wrong way. More screaming, more green blood. But the Scarn was not finished. His tail came around, faster than before, driven by pain and rage. It caught in the left leg. Heard the bone break from across the arena. Fell, the crowd cheered. But he did not stay down. He crawled. His left leg was shattered, bent at an angle that made Doctor cover her mouth in horror. But he crawled toward the Scarn, who was stumbling back, one eye destroyed, one arm broken. Stay down, the Scarn shouted. You are beaten, submit. Did not submit. He kept crawling. His hands left bloody prints on the sand. His face was white with pain, but his eyes were still fierce. The crowd had stopped cheering. They were watching in silence. This was not how prey was supposed to act. Prey was supposed to beg. Prey was supposed to give up. Prey was supposed to know when it was defeated. But kept crawling. The arena master finally called the match. The Scarn had won, was carried off the sand by medical drones. He was still conscious, still trying to fight until they sedated him. That night, the viewing numbers for the arena's broadcast doubled across the galaxy. In the cell, Doctor worked on his leg. The arena had basic medical equipment. They wanted their fighters to heal so they could fight again. But the damage was severe. Did her best, setting bones and stopping bleeding, her hands finally steady because she had work to do. You will never walk right again, she told him. Smiled through his pain. I walked far enough. Sat in the corner thinking. She had watched the fight carefully. She had seen everything. You hurt him, she said. Really hurt him. A Scarn warrior, and you took his eye and broke his arm. And lost my leg, said. But you showed them something, leaned forward. You showed them that humans fight back, that we do not give up, that beating us is not easy even when we lose. Spoke up, his voice was small but steady. What does that matter? We still lose, we still die. Shook her head. No, that is not the point. The point is that they expected you to be nothing. They expected a quick death. Instead, they got a fight. They got a human who kept going even when his leg was destroyed. She looked at all of them. They do not understand us. They think strength is everything. They do not know about endurance, about willpower, about the human ability to keep going when everything says we should stop. Pretty words, said another human, a woman named Shin. She had been a marathon runner on Earth. But pretty words do not win fights. No, agreed, but understanding does. I have been watching, learning. Every species here has weaknesses. They get tired if you make them chase you. The Skarn cannot move their joints sideways. They can be shattered with the right sound. She stood up and walked to the bars, looking out at the hallway. They think we are weak because we break easily, but they do not see what we hide. What do we hide? Asked. Turned back to them. Her eyes were bright with something that might have been hope, or might have been something more dangerous. We hide 100,000 years of survival. We hide the ability to adapt to anything. We hide minds that never stop thinking, never stop planning, never stop looking for a way to win. She smiled. On Earth, our ancestors chased animals across frozen wastelands until those animals collapsed from exhaustion. We did not need to be faster. We did not need to be stronger. We just needed to never, ever stop. Doctor looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. What do you need us to do? Watch, said. Learn, remember. When they put us in the arena, we will not fight like warriors. We will fight like humans. And we will show this galaxy something it has never seen before. In his cell across the hallway, the Unbroken was awake. He had heard everything. For the first time in 800 years, he felt something strange in his chest, something cold and unfamiliar. It took him a long time to recognize it as fear. The weeks that followed changed everything. 7 more humans were sent to fight in the arena. The arena masters wanted quick deaths. They wanted the galaxy to see weak creatures being destroyed. They wanted to remind everyone why humans were ranked at the bottom of all species. They did not get what they wanted. The first was Shin, the marathon runner. She was matched against a hunter, a creature made of living crystal that could move faster than the eye could follow. They were proud hunters. They liked to chase their prey, to let the fear build before the kill. Ran. She ran like she was back on Earth, like she was running a race that would never end. They chased her, confident that she would tire quickly. All species tired quickly. That was the nature of things. But did not tire quickly. She ran for 10 minutes, then 20, then 30. That was fast, but speed takes energy. It began to slow. Its crystal body began to dim as its internal power drained. At 40 minutes was still running. Her face was red. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed with pain. But she had run marathons for 15 years. She knew how to push through pain. She knew how to make her body obey her mind. At 47 minutes they collapsed. Its crystal form went dark. It could not move. Stood over it, breathing hard, sweat pouring down her face. She had not killed it. She had simply refused to die. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then someone started to cheer. Then another. Soon the whole arena was roaring, not because they had won, but because they had seen something they had never seen before. A human had outlasted a hunter. The arena masters were not happy. They sent another human to fight the next day. His name was Park, and he had been a chef on the Endless Dawn. He had never fought anyone in his life. He was soft and gentle and had spent his days making food that brought people joy. They matched him against a young, not a champion-like, but still a mountain of muscle and armor. The fight should have lasted seconds. It lasted 10 minutes. Could not win. He knew this. Everyone knew this. But he remembered what it said. He remembered watching the guards move. He remembered seeing that their eyes were not as armored as the rest of their bodies. When they grabbed him, did not try to escape. Instead, he pulled himself closer. The laughed, thinking this was surrender. It brought up to its face to look at him before killing him. Bit through its eye membrane. The screamed and threw him across the arena, hit the wall and felt his ribs break, but he smiled through the blood in his mouth. The would win. The would kill him, but that creature would never see properly again. A chef had permanently damaged a warrior. The pattern continued. Every human who fought lost. Most of them died, but none of them died easily. None of them gave up, and each one left a mark on their opponent. A human woman named Go, a school teacher, broke a Skarn's knee with a rock she had hidden in her hand. A human man named a musician screamed at a frequency that cracked his crystal arm. A human teenager named Han, who had been traveling with her family, bit and clawed and fought so hard that it took 3 warriors to finally bring her down. The galaxy was watching. The ratings for arena broadcasts had never been higher, but the mood had changed. People were not laughing at humans anymore. They were disturbed by them. "What is wrong with these creatures?" Counselor asked her advisors. She was her crystal body humming with worry. "They cannot win. They must know they cannot win. Why do they keep fighting?" "They are too stupid to accept defeat," one advisor said. No, shook her head. "I have studied their data. Humans are not stupid. Their technology was primitive when we found them, but their problem-solving abilities are remarkable. They know they are losing. They choose to fight anyway." "That is insanity." "Is it?" Looked at the latest footage. A human woman bleeding from a dozen wounds, still trying to stand while a warrior backed away from her, not attacking, just backing away. Or is it something we do not understand? In the cell was preparing. She had watched every fight. She had learned everything she could. She had trained her body in the small space available, doing exercises that seemed strange to the others, stretches, breathing techniques, mental focus. Watched her with respect. His leg was healing, but it would never be right. He would limp for the rest of his life. "You are planning something," he said. "Yes. You think you can beat." Stopped her exercises and looked at him. "No, I cannot beat him. He is stronger than me, faster than me. He has armor and claws and 800 years of experience." She smiled. "But I do not need to beat him. I need to break him." "What is the difference?" "Beating him means killing him. Breaking him means destroying what makes him a champion." She looked across the hallway at Cell, that was watching her as he always did now. He has never been knocked down. He has never felt like a loser. His whole identity is built on being unbeatable. Doctor understood. You want to show him that he can be beaten, even if you lose. Yes. If a small human woman can make the unbroken lose even one fight, everything changes. Every species that feared them will start to wonder. Every warrior who thought they could never win against them will start to hope. "But you could die," said. His voice was stronger now than it had been weeks ago. He had changed. They all had. "I could," agreed. "But so could any of us, at any time. That is true for all living things." She sat down and closed her eyes. "The question is not whether we die. The question is what we do before we die, what we leave behind, what we change." The cell was quiet. Outside, they could hear the distant roar of the crowd as another fight ended. Finally spoke. "The arena masters will choose one of us soon. They want to end this. They want a decisive human defeat to stop all this attention." "I know," said. "They will probably choose you. You have healed enough to stand. And you will volunteer to go instead." Opened her eyes. She was not surprised that he had figured it out. "You have already proven what you are. You showed them what human courage looks like. Now it is my turn." "To do what?" Stood up, she walked to the bars and looked at. The champion stared back at her with his 4 yellow eyes. "To show them what human endurance looks like," she said. "To show them that being soft is not the same as being weak. To show them that the creature they ranked at the bottom of all species is the most dangerous thing they have ever put in their arena." Heard her, his 4 hands gripped the bars of his cell. "I look forward to crushing you," he growled. Smiled at him. It was not a friendly smile. "And I look forward to showing you why that is not as easy as you think." The next morning the guards came. They pointed at and stepped forward. "I will go," she said. "Match me against your best. Match me against." The guards laughed. The arena masters laughed. The whole galaxy would laugh. But soon they would stop laughing. And they would never forget. The arena of Prime had never been so full. Word had spread across the galaxy. A human female had volunteered to fight the Unbroken. The most one-sided match in arena history. The greatest champion against the weakest species. It was a joke. It was entertainment. It was going to be the fastest death ever recorded. Billions watched from 1,000 different worlds. Stood in the tunnel that led to the arena floor. She could hear the crowd above her. The sound was like thunder that never stopped. Her heart was beating fast. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was calm. She had prepared for this moment, not just in the weeks of captivity, but in her whole life. Every patient she had helped recover from injury. Every athlete she had trained to push past their limits. Every hour she had spent studying how bodies worked and how they could be made to work better. All of it had led here. "Last chance to run," said the guard beside her. He was laughing. Did not answer. She walked forward into the light. The arena was huge. Sand stretched out in every direction, stained dark with the blood of countless species. The seats rose up around her like mountains, filled with creatures of every shape and color. The noise was so loud it felt like a physical force pressing against her body. And there, on the other side of the sand, was. He was even bigger than she remembered. 7 feet of muscle and armor. 4 arms, each one thicker than her whole body. Yellow eyes that burned with centuries of victory. Scars covered his gray skin, proof of 847 fights won. He walked toward her slowly, savoring the moment. The crowd screamed his name. "Little human," he said when he was close enough to speak. "I have been waiting for this. You have caused me much annoyance these past weeks, talking about breaking me, making my species look foolish." "You do not need my help to look foolish," said. His eyes narrowed, then he laughed. "I will make this quick, a mercy killing. When you are dead, your friends will follow, and the galaxy will remember humans as they should be remembered, as nothing. We will see." The arena master's voice boomed across the sand. "Citizens of the Coalition, welcome to the match of the century. In one corner, your undefeated champion, winner of 847 consecutive battles, the terror of 10,000 worlds, the Unbroken." The crowd erupted, raised his 4 arms and roared. And in the other corner, representing species 7431, classification fragile, a human female with no combat training and no special abilities. A few people in the crowd laughed. Most were silent, waiting for the slaughter to begin. "Begin." Charged. He moved fast for something so large. His 4 arms reached for her, ready to crush her body like an insect. The crowd leaned forward, eager to see blood. But was not there. She had been watching for weeks. She knew how he moved. She knew that he shifted his weight to the left before charging. She knew that his lower right arm was slightly slower than the others. She had seen every video of his fights that the arena showed on the screens in the hallway. She moved to her right, sliding past his grab by inches. His claws closed on empty air. The crowd murmured, turned and attacked again, and again, and again. Each time was somewhere else. She did not block, she could not block. His strength would shatter her arms like twigs. She did not attack, she could not attack. Her fists would bounce off his armor without leaving a mark. She survived. 5 minutes passed, was breathing harder, not tired yet but confused. His opponents always fought back. They always tried to hurt him. They always gave him something to grab, something to destroy. This human just kept moving. "Stand still," he roared. "No." 10 minutes. The crowd had stopped cheering. They were watching in silence now, not understanding what they were seeing. A human woman, small and soft and weak, dancing around the greatest warrior in the galaxy. Sweat poured down his face. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. Every muscle in her body begged her to stop, to rest, to give up. But she had trained for this. Not this fight specifically, but the endurance. The ability to keep going when every part of her body said no. Humans were not fast. Humans were not strong. But humans could run for days. On Earth, her ancestors had chased animals across endless plains until those animals collapsed from exhaustion. It was called persistence hunting. It was how weak, soft, slow humans had conquered a planet full of predators. 15 minutes was slowing down. He did not notice it yet, but did. She had been watching his breathing, counting his steps, measuring the time between his attacks. He was spending more energy than he was used to. He was getting frustrated, and frustration made him sloppy. She started to fight back. Not with strength. She had no strength, but she had precision. She had knowledge. She knew exactly where his nerves were. She knew where his armor was thin. She knew the spots behind his lower arms that made him flinch when touched. Her strikes were fast and light. They would not hurt a normal, but she was not trying to hurt him. She was trying to damage him, one nerve at a time, one weak spot at a time. 20 minutes. His left arms were moving slower. His lower back was stiffening. He was limping slightly on his right leg. "What are you doing to me?" he gasped. "Breaking you," said, "one piece at a time." The crowd was making noise again, but it was not cheering. It was something between shock and fear. They had never seen anything like this. A creature that should have died in seconds was systematically taking apart their champion. 30 minutes. The attacks were wild now, desperate. He was swinging with all four arms, not caring about technique, just trying to hit her. But wild attacks were easy to predict, easy to avoid. His body was failing. She could feel it. Her vision was getting dark at the edges. Her legs felt like they were filled with sand. Blood dripped from cuts where his claws had grazed her. She was dying. She knew she was dying. But she kept moving. 35 minutes, fell to his knees. The arena went completely silent. The Unbroken was on his knees. His four arms hung at his sides. His breath came in great ragged gasps. He looked up at the human woman standing in front of him. She was barely standing herself. She was covered in blood and sweat. She was shaking so hard she could barely stay upright. But she was standing, and he was not. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" Looked down at him. She had to fight to make her voice work. "You ask me what humans are," she said. "I will tell you, we are the species that survived everything. Ice ages, plagues, predators, disasters, each other." She took a shaky breath. "We evolved to never give up, to keep going when our bodies tell us to stop, to fight when we have no chance of winning." She smiled, and there was blood on her teeth. "You have been champions for 1,000 years. We have been survivors for 100,000. 40 minutes. Tried to stand. His legs would not hold him. His voice cracked. "I submit." The words echoed across the silent arena. The Unbroken had submitted to a human, to a creature half his size, to the weakest species in the galaxy. His legs finally gave out. She fell to the sand beside him. The world was going gray. She could hear people screaming, but she could not tell if they were cheering or crying. It did not matter. She had done it. She had broken the champion. Medical drones rushed onto the sand. The last thing saw before she lost consciousness was face. He was staring at her with something she had never seen in his eyes before. It was respect. And beneath it, hidden but clear, was terror. The human had won, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The galaxy burned with the news. Every screen on every world showed the same footage. the unbroken on his knees, a human woman standing over him, the greatest warrior in the coalition defeated by the weakest species in existence. The arena of Prime had never seen such chaos. The crowd did not know how to react. Some were screaming in anger, some were screaming in amazement, some sat in silence, unable to believe what they had witnessed. Counselor was already sending emergency messages to the Coalition High Council. Her crystal form flickered with distress as she recorded her report. The human did not win through strength, she said. She did not win through speed or weapons or armor. She won through something else, something we do not have a word for. She refused to accept defeat. She kept fighting when her body was failing. She found weaknesses we did not know existed and exploited them with precision that should have been impossible. The High Counselor's response came quickly. One human victory changes nothing. It is a statistical anomaly. With respect, Counselor, you are wrong. Pulled up more data. In the past 6 weeks, 12 humans have fought in this arena. All of them lost, but none of them lost quickly. None of them surrendered, and many of them permanently injured opponents who should have destroyed them in seconds. She showed the footage. A human chef biting through a sigh, a human teacher breaking a Scarn's knee, a human runner exhausting a hunter, and now a human therapist bringing the greatest champion in history to his knees. These are not anomalies, continued. This is a pattern. We classified humans as fragile and negligible because of their physical statistics. We were measuring the wrong things. The High Counselor was silent for a long moment. What do you recommend? Release them, immediately, before more of the galaxy sees what humans are capable of. The order came down within hours. The humans were to be freed. Their ship would be repaired. They would be sent back to human space with no explanation. The arena masters did not argue. They were already dealing with something they had never faced before. The Unbroken had not left his cell since the fight. He sat in the darkness, staring at nothing. The medical drones had healed his body. His muscles were strong again. His arms worked perfectly. His legs could carry him without pain. But he would not stand. They sent his trainers to talk to him. His trainers had been with him for 300 years. They had seen him fight monsters and demons and warriors from nightmares. They had never seen him afraid. Champion, his head trainer said, the crowd calls for you. There are challengers waiting. Your public needs you. Did not move. His 4 eyes stared at the wall. She should have died, he whispered. I hit her many times. I felt her bones breaking. I saw her bleeding. She should have fallen in the first minute. She was lucky, that is all. No, finally turned to look at his trainer. There was something broken in his eyes. She was not lucky. She knew exactly what she was doing, every move, every dodge, every strike. She had planned it all. She studied me like I was a puzzle to be solved. His voice cracked. I have fought for 800 years. No one has ever looked at me like that, like I was just a problem, an obstacle, something to be figured out and overcome. She is just a human, weak, fragile nothing. That is what I thought too, stood slowly. His trainer stepped back, hope rising in his chest, but did not walk toward the arena. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. I have killed thousands, he said quietly. I have broken warriors from every species in the coalition. I have never known fear. But when I looked at that human woman standing over me, covered in blood that was mostly her own, still ready to fight even though her body was dying, he shook his head. I saw something I had never seen before. What? A species that does not know how to quit. A species that treats its own bodies as tools to be used and thrown away. A species that can look at certain death and say, not today. He turned back to his trainer. We are not the top of the food chain. We never were. We just never met the real predators before. Walked past his trainer and out of the room. He did not go to the arena. He went to his quarters and began packing his few possessions. He never fought again. The humans were released 3 days after the fight. They were given new clothes and food and medical treatment. No one explained why. No one apologized. They were simply put on a transport ship and sent toward human space. Woke up on the ship. Her body was wrapped in healing bandages. Doctor sat beside her bed, looking tired but happy. "You survived," said, "against all odds." Tried to sit up. Pain shot through her body, but it was a healing pain. The others. "All safe, all going home." The door opened and the other humans came in. Was first, his young face bright with a smile she had never seen before, limped in behind him, leaning on a cane but standing tall, and all the others who had survived. They gathered around her bed. "You did it," said. "You actually did it." "We did it," corrected him. "All of us. Everyone who fought, everyone who refused to give up." She looked at them all. "We showed them who we are." "But what happens now?" asked. "We go home, we tell people what happened, then what?" Was quiet for a moment. She thought about's face at the end, the fear in his eyes, the respect. She thought about counselors' reports which they had intercepted on the ship's communication system. She thought about the millions of aliens who had watched a human woman bring down a champion. "Now they know," she said finally. "The whole galaxy knows. Humans are not weak. We are not fragile. We are not nothing." She smiled, and even through the bandages and the pain, it was a fierce smile. "They will never look at us the same way again." Nodded slowly. "They feared us before because we were different. Now they fear us because they understand." "And what do they understand?" asked. Lay back on her bed and closed her eyes. Outside the window, stars streamed past as they flew toward home, toward Earth, toward the small blue planet that had created them. "They understand that we come from a world that spent millions of years trying to kill us. They understand that we survived ice and fire and disease and each other. They understand that we are the species that chased mammoths across frozen wastelands until they collapsed. The species that climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. The species that looks at impossible odds and says, 'Watch me.'" She opened her eyes and looked at her people, her family, the survivors. "They understand," she said, "that humans do not know how to quit, and that makes us the most dangerous species in the galaxy." The ship flew on through the darkness between stars. Behind them, the arena of Prime closed for renovations that would last for years. The Unbroken retired to a distant world and never spoke of fighting again. Counselor began a complete review of how species were classified in the Coalition. And across 1,000 worlds, creatures of every shape and size watched the footage of a small human woman standing over a fallen champion. They watched it again and again. They studied it. They feared it. They had called her weak because she was human. The champion never stood up again. And humanity had taken its first step toward the stars not as the weakest species in the galaxy, but as something far more terrifying. Survivors. The kind that never, ever stop.